We've already had a video going over the Colts and how they picked up Ryan Hayes, Isaiah Land, and Josh Sills off the waiver wire earlier today. And the players that had to get released in order to fit these guys in were defensive tackle McTelvin Agam and offensive lineman Carter O'Donnell. But you also have wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie that got released, and that's the surprise news for today. Is how in the world is Isaiah McKenzie getting released? Like, we already had only four receivers on the team. We thought for sure he was going to be there, like a good veteran receiver. Like, the only thing I can think is they're letting him go so that he can try to get on at a place like Kansas City or try to go back to Buffalo or somewhere that can win right now. Maybe he's wanting to go get paper somewhere else. I don't know. But it's weird to release him. I wonder why they decided to do that. But also, with all these moves that are going on, the Colts have also announced who they're going to put on the practice squad. So that might have something to do with the decision to let Isaiah McKenzie try to go find another opportunity elsewhere. Okay, so the 16 players that make the practice squad are linebacker Liam Anderson, safety Henry Black, safety Marcel Dabo, running back Jake Funk, running back Jason Huntley, wide receiver DJ Montgomery, defensive end Al-Qadim Muhammad finds his way back to the Colts. He's on the practice squad for now. Safety Ronnie Harrison Jr. is still on the Colts, ends up on the practice squad, but if we need him, he's there, so that's nice. Linebacker Donovan Mutant. He was a rookie this year, I believe, an undrafted free agent. He finds his way onto the Colts practice squad. Defensive tackle Caleb Sampson. Offensive tackle Dan Skipper, cornerback Isaac Taylor Stewart, and cornerback Kevin Tolliver II. Now for the interesting part. Okay, if you were keeping track, that's 13 of the 16 names. I wanted to keep three off for this wide receiver conversation. Okay, we have Amari Rogers, Mike Strawn, and Jawan Winfrey all got signed back to the practice squad. So it'll be interesting to see what the Colts decide to do with the moves that they made, bringing guys in and then releasing guys. The roster's still at 53, so they're going to have to move some stuff around and figure out what they want to do with some other guys in order to fit anybody else into that wide receiver room. But at the current moment, the competition is going to be between Amari Rogers, Mike Strawn, and Jawan Winfrey on who's going to go into the season on the active roster. And it'll be also be interesting to see, do they decide to go into the season with just four wide receivers on the active roster? Do they bring up Amari Rogers because of his experience? Do they bring up Mike Strawn because he's been there? Or do they bring up Jawan Winfrey to start getting him experience in the NFL? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Got to remember there's 5 tight ends. Right. And a lot of those guys are, mostly receiving, right? Kylan Granson, receiving tight end, which is one of the reasons I think they're comfortable going into the season with 4 wide receivers, is because they can line Kylan Granson up in the slot as a wide receiver if they really needed him to. But of course, Josh Downs is going to be in that spot, which is why a guy like Isaiah McKenzie ends up being expendable. Now, I do want to look at one more thing before we get off of the wide receivers. All right, I kid you not. As I'm recording this, Jordan Schultz on Twitter reported that wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie just signed back with the Colts on the active roster. So we're back up to 4 on the active roster. Isaiah McKenzie is a Colt. I assume that was just working some numbers, trying to free up some cap space, especially because of the role that they expect him to have. Probably trying to even out what the numbers should be there. So good news, Isaiah McKenzie is back. We have him back. I like that. I was a little worried when they cut him. It didn't make much sense. So makes sense now that they brought him back. And it makes me wonder if they're trying to open up cap space. Does that mean that we're getting close to a Jonathan Taylor contract extension? Are they trying to find ways to move the roster around and move money around and open up a little bit of space so that they can give Jonathan Taylor more money this year and then figure out a contract extension either through the season or after the season before he gets the franchise tag? So interesting moves here today by the Colts. A lot of interesting moves. And again, I do want to backtrack to the guys that got put on the practice squad. And I'd like to know who you think of the 3 guys: Amari Rogers, Jawan Winfrey, Mike Strawn. who would your opinion be should end up on the active roster going into the year? Whether we end up with 5 or 6 wide receivers going into the season, who do you think should be on the active roster? My opinion, I like Amari Rodgers, and he has a special teams utility, and I know he can do that. So it would make sense to go Amari Rodgers, but I just want to see Jawan Winfrey get opportunity. We've seen Mike Strong get opportunity before, and he hasn't taken advantage of it. So in my opinion, I would keep Mike Strachan on the practice squad, and you could even bring up Amari Rodgers and Jawan Winfrey if you want to roll in with 6, right? I assume at some point one of the tight ends is going to go. I assume at some point one of the offensive linemen. Right now, there's currently 9 offensive linemen. I expect that to go down to 8, and that would open up 2 spots for wide receivers, which is kind of what I'm expecting to happen. Not saying that's for sure what's going to happen, but I think that would be the move. If I'm Coach Steichen, I think that's what I would be looking into doing and the solution going into week 1. Okay, so with that said, if anything else happens, I will surely let you guys know and update you as soon as possible. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you can stay up to date on all the Colts news. And until next time, as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.